Welcome back to Training Well Done, your episode. Oh my gosh, let's start that again. Welcome back to Training Well Done, your podcast on the what, the why, and the how of quality training. I'm your co host, Coach Donald,
Coach Tim?
and today we are going to talk about the creatine phosphate system, aka your phosphocreatine system, aka your phosphagen system, aka your alactic system, aka the explosive energy system, as I like to explain to high schoolers.
That's a good way to explain it. And prior to recording the previous episode, I had never heard of the term alactic.
Mm.
That was new for me.
What we want to do today is teach you about the basics of this energy system, as well as a lot of practical applications and ways to think about it for training. The previous episode, we went on a full breakdown of all of the energy systems. So we're going to take a deep dive into this one. But first, fun.
First, the fun. We always love these little intros. Sometimes they can get a bit long-winded, but I think this is content some of the listeners really do enjoy. So it's important. It's important that we share our coaching moments and our learnings and reflections. So, what's been up with you?
This weekend, we had our first track invitational.
Okay.
Tis the season, and it has begun. Luckily, this meet wasn't so long. There were no relays, so no 4x8, no 4x1, no 4x4, and there weren't like a lot of schools, so the meet went by much faster.
Excellent.
And I'm really enjoying the slow build up into like the April part of the season where the meets go, and it's like a 13-hour day. But our kids did really well because we had bad weather on Wednesday. This actually was the season opener for everybody that showed up, and so we had a lot of kids run really well. Like shout out
Yeah.
to my returners from last year. I gave out this thing called the Secret Serum Award at practice from time trials, which was like there was a one kid who she kind of ran last year, but not really. She ran the first couple of years, and but she's had shin issues and she wasn't just really that fast.
Okay.
And she came back this year, shins no problem, and she's running really well. And so I've been joking with her like the whole second week of practice and the first week, like, yeah, what kind of like secret serum do you like have you been taking? Like, what have you been taking? Like, why are you running so well? And I mean, she trained all off season. She started literally training in October when we started training. She came to our practices twice a week, and I think she was like going to the gym on her own, and it shows. And at the time trial we did a week ago, I was like, "What is the secret serum? Like you ran so well. Like she just clocked. It wasn't like she clocked objectively crazy times. She clocked really crazy times for what I recognized she was capable of before in the past.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Like she was
Yep.
somebody who ran well in the sprints who was like, maybe you should be an 800-meter runner, maybe a miler. I mean, can you even run that long without hurting? And boom, she's like able
Wow.
to train a lot. And so I, after the time trials, I was like, I'm gonna make that like a fun little like Donaldism of an award, a secret serum award. So like a lot of the kids who came back, their time trials were hand times. They did really well. So then at the track meet, those same kids ran like a lot of PR. So like pretty much I think all but one of the returners ran a PR, and the one who didn't matched his time in the hurdles, just
Okay.
about.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, when I go to practice today, I'm going to talk about like my Coach Donald's Secret Serum Awards.
Yeah.
So shout out to y'all who ran really well, and we also found out we have some new talent on the team that promising.
Oh, that's excellent. Strong start,
Yeah.
right? No, I was talking to Bethany over the weekend. We were like looking at the calendar and going over all the schedule stuff, with everything that we had talked about last week, just getting everything organized. And I told her, I said, man, I give Coach Donald so much credit because, you're in it for 12, 13 hours a day at some of these track meets.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a long time. I mean, it's fun to watch the kids compete, I'm
Yeah.
sure.
What you
But,
got going on?
I had a good Sunday morning. I've been most of you probably know if you listen to the show, you've probably seen our social media accounts. We've been working with Jordan from Kool Run Club to help us get the word out about what it is that we do, especially with our adult race training programs. And so I've been coaching him up to get ready for the Pittsburgh Marathon, second event. Um, he's got a vendetta and a point to prove, which has been a lot of fun. Um, but I was finally able to go out and share some miles with him over the weekend. So he was in it for his first 20-mile training run
Oh, this is the
of the
first one
cycle.
of this
Yeah,
cycle. Okay.
yeah, first 20-mile run of the cycle. So it was a big one. Um, we got him up and out early, so he could get his 20 in before it started getting too warm.
What time did y'all run
Um,
and where did y'all run at?
we started down Southside Riverfront Park. That's a favorite jumping off spot that he likes to use, and we went out about 7:15. So yeah, we did 12-mile loop. Well, we all did a 12-mile loop. I sort of broke off with about 2 miles to go because I was on a time crunch to get back to the car. It's like a little tempo, a little
Mm-hmm.
spice at the end of the workout. But um, I don't know. It was just cool. You know, getting to be in the trenches with one of our athletes too. I find a lot of times, um, you know, it's we see you in the gym for workouts. I'm doing your run programming and telling you what you should do when you're not in the gym, and like very, very involved with your training and your racing. But it's a little bit more intimate, right? When you're out there and you're spending 2 hours on your feet
Mm-hmm.
with someone. You get to know them a little bit better. You can be a lot more impactful with your coaching, and so that was a cool experience to have.
That's awesome. Okay. Yeah, that's really nice to be able to get up and do that with them. And especially like that early morning, it was so nice on Sunday, but it ended
It
up being really
was,
hot. And
yeah.
so kind of like a prelude to like what to expect for later in the spring whenever it eventually stops snowing.
There was a funny moment. So I was trying to capture some content while we were out there, while he was capturing content, this, that, and the other thing. And um, we uh, we ran past a group of people that he knew, and you can see it on his post. But they were like, "What? Jordan's out this early in the morning," and they went crazy. And he was quick enough to get his phone out and like capture their reaction as we ran past. I was a little slower, so I didn't get it. But yeah, it was groundbreaking stuff. We were having a good laugh at that. He said he was so funny. He said, "I am the most dedicated 10 a.m. runner you'll ever meet."
Yeah, that's clearly why the run club starts much later than everybody else's.
Yeah,
I never really understood that part because like everybody else starts at like 7, 8,
yeah.
and I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, that's awesome though. How like shout out to you for being able to just go and run like 20 miles with people like just on a whim, not training
Oh,
really
so
hard. That's also like mad impressive, and I'm curious like how you feel and prep for that, or do you just roll out of bed like, all right, 20 miles, easy peasy.
Oh, I thought about this, and I was like, if it comes up, it'll come up, and that'll be great. But I'm not going to bring it up if it doesn't. Um, so it's really funny that you asked that. um, so my plan initially was to like head out for 5 or 6. I didn't know how he was like breaking out his loops, but I was like, oh, I'll go out for 5 or 6 with you. Like, get started. Let's talk about like make sure your nutrition's on point, which he's good at. Make sure you're staying hydrated. He's good on that. He comes very well prepared. Like, here's what to expect from this workout. Here's what to expect. As the temperatures start to climb a little bit. Here's how we want to execute. Let's take the first 5K. Like, don't even look at your watch. Just loosen up. It doesn't matter how fast, how slow. And I was like gonna do that 60 75 minute whatever. That's what I had planned on, and that's what I prepped for. Then we get out there, and it's a real nice morning, and his first loop is going to be a 12-mile loop around the city before the second loop being a little bit shorter, which great logistics. And I was like, well, I do probably have about 2 hours of run time that I could do. That's most of that 12-mile loop, at the pace that we would be running. Turns out a banana, a cup of coffee, and one gel is not enough to run 12
Oh
miles.
my
But
gosh.
that's all I had on me, right? I had prepared for 5 or 6. I was in it for 12. And I could tell I was doing that little like 2 3 mile tempo to get back to the car on time. And Could tell I was running low on fuel. So
Oh, that had to be painful.
it was interesting actually, and it puts into context a lot of the stuff that we were talking about on the last episode. It's like I could tell when, like, it wasn't a fitness thing.
Mm.
It wasn't a pace thing. Like I wasn't going fast. I wasn't doing interval effort on the way back. But at a certain point, right at about that 2 hour mark, things started getting a little tough and
Mm.
started come unglued, and it was a direct result of the lack of fuel in the tank.
Yeah. And when you don't have the fuel, you can't make the energy very
Nope,
well. And when the fuel reserves get low and you're at the bottom of the gas tank, your body does not have a great time producing that
it
energy.
does not. But it
Try-
was a fun morning. It was a great conditions, good company. Had a lot of fun.
Good, good. I'm glad. Shout out to Jordan. We got what, 5 weeks to go? 6 weeks to go?
5 weeks.
5 weeks. All right, so let's start with some kind of highlighted points. Your aerobic system helps restore your phosphocreatine system. So being able to replenish energy that you use while you're training from doing any high intensity activity, once you're done doing the high intensity activity, your body generally down regulates that system from being used and then is using your aerobic system to make energy. So the mitochondrial density from just being in good aerobic fitness helps create energy for your body to use in between explosive bouts, which then helps your anaerobic systems be ready to go again. So something to think about. Another cool fun fact that I learned was that creatine kinase is one of the fastest enzymes in the body. The reaction rate is extremely high, and it allows ATP to be regenerated almost instantly during explosive movement. We highlighted this previously in the last podcast, but we're going to talk about this more. Whenever you're using your phosphocreatine system, you take whenever you're using it, your body uses ATP to just get started with an explosive movement. You have
Mm-hmm.
ATP just kind of resting there, and you use that to begin your movement. But let's say you're sprinting to catch up to the bus really fast, or you're training some really hard sprints, or like you're like lifting a heavy weight. After that initial couple of seconds, like your body needs to replenish that ATP that you just used. Remember that, and this is kind of just going right into the deep dive basically, that the ATP, your adenosine triphosphate, three phosphates, whenever you take one away and you break that bond, you create energy. But then you're left with adenosine diphosphate, which is two. Basically, your body takes this adenosine diphosphate and you take this phosphocreatine and you mix them together inside the enzyme called creatine kinase. That enzyme takes those two substances and creates an ATP and a creatine molecule. That reaction happens really fast because then your body can immediately take that ATP, break it down into ADP, and then that organic phosphate. You take the creatine phosphate and the ADP again, and you can just do that. And it can do it back to back to back to back. It's highly reactive. It happens right, I believe, in the cytoplasm of the muscle cell. And so the reaction rate's super high. And depending on the amount of creatine you have stored readily available, this system can keep firing over and over again. And so it can produce a lot of energy. But eventually you run out of creatine and it burns out.
Yeah. So when we talk about reaction rate, I guess just to define that a little bit more is um, simply the ability to convert the flour and the eggs
Mm-hmm.
into the cake and have that happen really, really fast.
Yeah. So your phosphagen energy system, what is it for? When you think about, this type of explosive work, what activities come to mind for you?
Um, Jumping, sprinting, lifting. I think. I think. I came across that like trifecta. That might have been a you thing. That might have actually come from you, like the jumping, sprinting, lifting piece. But that's always stuck with me, and I think about like things that require a lot of explosiveness, things that happen quickly. Um, And we'll get into this a little bit later. That's not necessarily like limited to those three activities, because that happens in other sports
Mm-hmm.
as well.
One thing that I just thought of, and then that thought walked right back out of my head.
Maybe cutting was involved in the
Oh no,
jumping, running, cutting.
I probably just said those two
I think
things.
I think it was actually
It's
on
probably I think it
a
was the first one.
podcast. Yeah,
Yeah, but the thing I just thought of is something I tell people all the time. This energy system is why I sprint up the stairs instead of walk.
at the gym or just in
Just in
general.
general.
Do you?
Sprinting up the stairs uses this energy system, and because like sprinting up the stairs could take, depending on the staircase, it might take
Sure.
4 seconds, 8 seconds. Rarely long. If it takes me longer than 10 seconds to get up the stairs, I'm probably not going to sprint the stairs because then
It defeats the purpose,
it defeats the purpose. So if I can use this, I don't want to say free. There's a free energy for like a short 3 second bout of sprinting up the stairs. To where, and if you sprint up the stairs really quickly and you can get it done in like 5, 6, 7 seconds, you don't create so much of an oxygen debt. Like your body does need your aerobic system to replenish that energy, but it's not like you end up out of breath. Whereas when you walk up a big flight of stairs, let's say it takes you 90 seconds to get up the stairs, you probably started using anaerobic means to get up the stairs, which is why your heart rate goes up a little bit, your ventilation goes up because your body had to use more energy to get up those stairs. This is what I suppose happens because when I walk up the stairs, I'm out of breath. I walk up, especially if I walk up the stairs kind of fast, like walking up the stairs kind of fast, or if you're like a not fit person walking up the
100%.
stairs, it's like
100%.
versus like boom, you just dash up the stairs. I might take a couple deep breaths, but I'm like cool after
That's
that.
it. That's funny because I do full transparency, sometimes I am breathing a little bit heavy by the time I get to the gym. And I've always thought, yeah, well, it's just because I'm like carrying my life on my back, like always, right? And I probably had a brisk walk to get from, wherever I was coming from to the gym in the first place. But sprinting is really good practice. I would challenge our gym goers. Try that out next time you're coming in for a session. Just sprint up those steps.
Yeah, sprint up the stairs, and then maybe another time, either that same day if you have time, or just another time you come back, just walk. Like try 3 different things: walk slow up the stairs,
Yes.
walk fast up the stairs, and then
And
sprint up
sprint.
the stairs, and see how your body responds differently to those 3 things.
I got to remember to like actually ask people if people that I know listen to the podcast. I have to ask if they actually start to practice that. That'll be a good question of the day. Did you sprint up the stairs or not?
So we covered a lot of the chemistry kind of already. So the enzyme, this energy system operates really fast because it's a single enzyme reaction. During our highlight of the aerobic system, there's a lot of reactions. I mean, there's I think dozens of reactions that go on to make energy aerobically, and there's a lot of reactions that go on to make energy with the glycolytic system anaerobically. This energy system has one enzyme, and there's no oxygen required. There's no multi-step pathways, so like it can operate really fast. Now it's primarily concentrated in fast twitch fibers. So your body has fast twitch and slow twitch fibers. Your postural muscles, like your spinal muscles and pretty much your abs and all that, and your face muscles, these are all going to be slow twitch muscle fibers. Really, you're going to start seeing fast twitch muscle fibers in like your limbs, your glutes, your legs, your calf muscles, maybe your quads, your hamstrings. I'm not 100% sure about the upper body. Maybe like some of your shoulder muscles or arm muscles, particularly closer to the shoulder joint. Those probably have some fast twitch muscle fibers. I imagine that's what makes baseball players so explosive at throwing the ball versus
There you go.
non-baseball players. But like your postural muscles are all slow twitch. So any muscle group or joint that's required to be explosive is going to have a higher concentration of fast twitch fibers, which means you're going to have a higher concentration of phosphocreatine stores and the ability to actually use this energy system. I don't think you can explosively stand up. Not at least using your back muscles. I feel like you're looking this up.
I did, yeah. So what I'm learning is that you can develop upper body fast twitch muscle fibers through specific training
Yeah, you can do
modalities.
upper body plyometrics,
Yeah, that's
plyo
pretty much what it
push-ups.
comes down to. Um, Med ball work,
Mm.
stuff like that.
Now, capacity, fatigue, recovery. Let's talk about this. This energy system only really lasts for like 6 to 10 seconds at a high level of output. If you're not outputting very high, I mean, it can contribute more and more. But if you're at an intensity that's low enough for this not to get maxed out in about 10 seconds or so, you're probably going to be using your other energy systems a lot more at those intensities, anyways. So this mostly depletes in 6 to 10 seconds as it's the primary energy source to do something explosive. And if you're doing something explosive, you're not going to try to do it for 30 seconds, at least not at this level of output. Why? Because the phosphocreatine will deplete. You'll have too many inorganic phosphates. So when you take the ATP and you split it, you're going to have an inorganic phosphate and an ADP. The inorganic phosphates that build up in your body create signals that then tell your body that it needs to start creating more energy and aerobically, and like it kind of signals fatigue, and so then
It triggers
it
the other
triggers your other
systems.
systems to go up.
Yeah.
Also, because of the depletion of the phosphocreatine, that means that you're going to have a slower ATP resynthesis rate. And as the ATP resynthesis rate slows down, then it also is going to signal for your body to, like, hey, aerobic system, a glycolytic system,
Yeah.
like, pick up.
Need you to kick in
Yeah.
now.
Because you're going to just deplete, and then you just can't, like, because the creatine kinase can react so fast, you burn through the available like creatine phosphate stores, or phosphocreatine, whatever. I keep seeing it written both ways, but I'm talking about the same thing. Gets depleted. Now, your body can replenish this. So in about 30 seconds or so, you can get like half of it back. In about another 3 minutes, you can get 90% of it back. Over 5 minutes, you can get near 5 minutes, you can get like over 95% back. But getting back to like 100% can take well over 10 minutes or more. So you can think about training in work to rest ratios of like 1 to 5 or 1 to 10. So that might be 2 seconds of work, or 2 seconds of work for every, I don't know, 30 seconds you get to rest, or that might be 5 seconds of work, but then you get, 50 seconds of rest, or you might want to train at, if you're training at like peak levels of like really trying to like peak for track, you might do like 1 to 30, 1 to 20. But
Yeah.
if you're training like acceleration work, or you're just training in the gym, a couple 5 seconds of work with a minute to 2 minutes of training, I mean, of rest, can help with, being able to challenge the energy system to be a little bit more efficient.
Yeah. A few thoughts here, Coach. One, to piggyback off of the point you just made. Um, that's why a lot of times when we're coaching sessions, it's like, okay, you can do like these two exercises back to back, or you don't need a ton of time between sets. Whereas other times we're like, whoa, okay, slow your roll, pump your brakes. Like, I need you to chill for a minute before
Mm-hmm.
we get back into this again. That's just us as coaches, like knowing what the stimulus is and how we can best manipulate it. Um, Obviously not going to name names. I know some of you folks like to fly through your workouts, and like sometimes that's not going to get, you're not going to get the most bang for your buck if you're not recovering in the appropriate fashion. Um, the the other thing that I find really interesting, and I'm going to ask you this. You may or may not know the answer. I certainly don't. I find it really fascinating that you're getting half, like your fuel tank is half full in that first 30 seconds, and then 90% full in about 3 minutes, and all those things that you just mentioned. Like, the body's amazing, right? It fascinates me that it's just not like you get 10% back for every 10 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? There's an instant, like within that first 30 seconds, you're already getting 50%. Do we know why that is, and like why it's not linear? I don't know if linear is the right way to
I mean,
describe it, but
it's
like,
definitely not linear.
right.
I I don't know.
Yeah, I'm curious. We'll add
I
that.
feel like I read it, but I don't know it to like repeat it.
Okay.
But yeah, our bodies charge kind of like these new iPhones do. Like you
There you
can get
go.
a
Yeah.
big, or even like how like electric cars, you get most of the recharge in the beginning of charging it. But like to getting those last little bits, it takes a lot longer. It's probably some sort of signaling effect of like it's overwhelmingly depleted, so your body, I'm imagining, kind
It
of
just triggers
overcompensates
this
to
greater
like
response.
really
Yeah.
just get a bigger
Yeah.
response for that. But as it refills, like your body has other priorities elsewhere to
Yeah.
start sending
Yeah.
that like energy back to replenish in other places.
Well, I guess
That's what I'm thinking.
that makes total sense. Like it's just overcompensation, right? And it's also to bring you back, like that phone analogy is great, right? Like it's designed that way because sometimes you're on 5% and you need a quick hit, and that quick hit gets you back to 50, gets you through the rest of the day, right?
Yeah.
Like so it would make that makes total sense.
I think the imbalance of being depleted creates like the imbalance of being depleted creates a bigger reaction, and then once it's not so depleted, like
Like you
the,
said,
the signaling just goes down.
right. The body has other priorities.
Yeah.
Um, the third thought here that I wanted to touch on before we move on, this is just real fast. You have like the 1 to 5 or 1 to 10 recovery ratios. Have you ever seen that written the other way around? Because I always did it like this. It's a work to rest, right?
Seen it written rest to work.
Yeah. And I never understood why, because no one calls it rest to work. It's always work to rest. So why not write it that way, right? I've had this conversation a lot of times
Really?
with a lot of different athletes
I
too, because when we're at the track and I'm telling them this is your work to rest ratio, sometimes they think of it backwards too.
I think that I think it's due to the fact that training is work. So the whole point of coming up with a work to rest ratio is because I'm doing this thing because I'm here to work.
Right.
So I need to figure out how much I should rest relative to how much I should work. I think it's more of
Correct.
a mindset thing. So if I know I need to work for, let's say in this energy systems case, if I know I need to work for 7 seconds, oh, well, how much should I rest relative to that? Oh, I should probably rest for 3 minutes or 2 minutes,
Right.
and a 1 to maybe 15 work to rest ratio.
You don't need the rest if you haven't done the work. So
Yeah.
why would you write it the other way around? I
That's,
just had to ask if you had ever seen it written the other way, because
I've never thought of it. It's one of those things where like it's almost inconceivable to have thought
I
of it that
know.
way.
I know. All right. I'm glad I'm not crazy.
um, Please introduce me to anybody who thinks of it the other way
The
around.
next, yeah, I will. Or the next time I see it, I'll take a screenshot and send it to you. Anyway, I'm glad that we're on the same page here.
So when we think about fatigue, shorter rest does compromise the power output, and we want to think about either how strong you are, how well your neural pathways are, in regards to being able to get muscle recruitment, so that taking shorter work to rest ratios will deplete your power output. So then you have to think about what are you training for. Sometimes you're training to challenge this energy system, and so you might be intentionally trying to do shorter rests to challenge this energy system to be able to work on its rate of repletion, and you might be really aiming for that, or you might be training to get your body to get better at peak power outputs. So the former might be, let's say you're a soccer player, a basketball player, and you are training to have explosive back-to-back sprints. You might do a bunch of half-court sprints, and you're trying to challenge how short your rest can be to still hit them within a certain amount of time.
Yep.
Like maybe your coach is standing with a stopwatch and it's, all right, sprint. Maybe you got to half court in 2.5, 3.5 seconds. How little rest can you take to keep up at that speed? You might be challenging your body in that way. But on the flip, and especially this is more common in track, if you're working on top speed mechanics, you are training for power output. Or if you're like lifting really heavy in the gym, you might be training for power output. So you only want to take as much rest as possible to like hit that same power output. But if you can't hit that same power output, then you are going to
You
forcibly take more
just
rest.
need more rest.
And the goal might be to hit a certain power output. So the taking less rest is only even matters because of time constraints you might have to train. But if you don't have those time constraints, you might very well take more rest. And like, let's say it's the end of the track season, you're a 100-meter runner, you might be taking absurdly long rest to get every single piece of replenishment back to go out and get your body to execute at a high level again, because you're trying to train it to do that. So, and it's something to think about training wise as far as like rest ratios and what your intent is. Carbs are less indirectly involved, and most of that fatigue is going to be from your central nervous system being able to have high rates of firing that can cause for fatigue that way, versus like you're not going to have a bunch of metabolites like these like acid or anything like that that's building up in the body from using this energy system.
All the byproducts and the garbage.
Yeah, there's not nearly as much.
Yeah.
Because it's only a one-step process, so there's not a lot of garbage that gets made
How about
there.
that?
It's really efficient in that way. So training applications, let's talk about this. A big question that that I thought of when I was researching this and just learning more about this is, how does creatine supplementation influence this system's capacity and repeated power output? What I learned was creatine increases your intramuscular creatine phosphate stores, which improves your repeat sprint ability and high power training volume. So the more creatine you have in your muscles, the more you can have repeated sprints at a high speed, and the more you can do more training at a high power output. That doesn't mean you're going to run faster, and it doesn't mean you're going to lift heavier. It means that you can run fast more times, and you can lift heavier more times.
More reps, just more volume in general. So this goes back to kind of what we mentioned on that past the previous episode about it, being a valid supplement for this type of training.
Yeah. Well, how long ago did you say when you took it?
This was back when I was like still in college. I must have been a junior or senior, so this was 06, 07 maybe. Oh, so almost 20 years ago. Yeah.
I want to do some research on like, how long do you need to take it to have a meaningful effect? Like, could I not train? I mean, like, there's obviously a virtue in training with it, but like, what if I only took it like the day before I went and did like a bunch of races at a track meet or something, or like the day before, like, I don't know, maybe I'm playing flag football and I'm like, all right, I gotta like play back-to-back games. I'm gonna take some creatine before I do this to have that output. Like, I wonder how long you need to take for it. How long you need to take it for it to matter.
That's a good question, because
it could definitely numbers out there.
Yeah, because I think of, and this isn't a one-to-one analogy, but I think of like when people use caffeine as a performance enhancer, it's like only really effective if you never consume caffeine.
Yeah.
Right? So like if you drink your morning cup of coffee, taking a caffeinated gel before your afternoon session is like not going to do anything. But if you never drink coffee and only use a caffeinated gel on like race day, well, use it before that, make sure it sits well with your stomach. Then it does aid in performance.
Yeah.
So I wonder if creatine it could be used, to your point, as something like that. Like, oh yeah, maybe once in a while before this flag football game.
That caffeine subject also makes another good episode idea.
Yeah.
Caffeine and performance.
I also have another one. When you were talking a little bit earlier, I was Googling something, and I think it might be fun to do a few episodes on like I don't know if we could, I don't know how off the top of my head we would tie this back into training, but something about like neuroplasticity, or do like a 2 or 3 episode like brain training.
Okay, I like that
spin off.
Makes me think of Lauren in a decathlon, although I'm thinking about in the context of training for different sports. like having a big sport battery, but like it's also just neuroplasticity, kind of in regards to learning the idea that you can be anything. You can't be everything all at once, but you could be, in a sense, anything. I think many people could be many things. I think that I don't love the hyperbole of anything, but like
Yeah.
we could. It goes back to that what you said in the last episode about like people not realizing what they're capable of when they're training and like them achieving stuff they never considered achieving. And there's a level of neuroplasticity in like learning a new skill and being good at it, especially something that you might not have thought you were predispositioned for.
Yeah. It's fast. Stuff like that fascinates me. It's totally off topic here, but just let's just put that in our back pocket for now.
So let's talk about the phosphocreatine system in strength training. Okay. And I have 4 big points to share with you. Heavy maximal strength efforts rely largely on this system. So that's heavy lifts lasting around 10 seconds or less. They primarily draw on this. If you think about doing heavy deadlifts, heavy squats, maybe you're doing power cleans or other Olympic lifts, these type of strength training exercises that are taking 10 seconds or less, especially when you start talking about lower rep ranges, these draw on this energy system to function. Why? Because we talked about it, it fatigues out in about 10 seconds. And so when you're using this energy system, for lifting, you're probably doing an exercise heavy. And if you're doing an exercise that's objectively heavy, it needs to have high motor unit recruitment. So that means that you have a lot of muscles working all at once to do this. If you have a lot of muscles working all at once to do this, you're going to use up a lot of energy to lift those weights. And therefore, you can only do a few reps. And so that goes into the second point that low rep training preserves the dominance of this energy system to stay strong. So that's generally going to be sets of 1 to 5 that train this energy system. Either you're doing 5 reps that are not heavy, but you're doing them very fast, or you're doing 5 really heavy reps, or 1 or 2. And so, really explosive power athletes might do 10 sets of 2 reps to train this energy system to be explosive.
Yeah, I had some of the endurance crew doing like a 5x5 trap bar last week. Yeah, last week. Um, just to stay sharp with this stuff. But the point was, we said go with 60 to 70% of what you would normally use, and I need you to move it quickly because, and didn't explain this in the session, but because I need you to finish those 5 reps in 10 seconds or less.
Yeah. One of my favorite protocols that I like to use, I want to experiment for this next like upcoming year of training about where I want to use it more is like my 8-second goblet squats. And like, hey, take a weight and you need to be able to squat this weight as fast as you can in like kind of 7 seconds being our cutoff to like go up in weight. And always being able to train moving the weight fast in there.
I liked when you had that in for like a drill of the week piece. And I used speed squats just last week actually as well. So that would be a fun thing, like a fun metric to kind of track.
Some things to note about strength training with the phosphocreatine system. The longer the rest intervals are, the more you can restore the power output. So again, going back to intent, if you want to be powerful, you're going to need at least 2 to 5 minutes. With these, let's say you're doing 8 sets of 3 for your power cleans, taking 3 to 5 minutes is required if you want to make sure that you can keep the bar moving fast, which is an intent part about why you would do that. Or if you're doing a heavy lift, being able to maintain a high level output. Many times, if you are strength training, you're lifting 85, 90, 95% of your max. And in order to do that maximal of a lift, you need to take time to let your energy restore to use this energy system. If you start taking short rests during strength training sessions, it turns into metabolic training, aka you're using your glycolytic system. So you could do a 5x5, but if you're doing a 5x5 on 1 minute rest, and you're doing 8 sets of that, you're probably now using less weight relative to what you could possibly do for a heavy set of 5.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say your heavy set of 5 might be 250. You might be using 215 for this. And you can do that on 1 minute intervals, but you're not training this energy system nearly as much. You're really now training your glycolytic system because it's just not enough rest for this energy system to keep rebounding. So you might be using it for the first couple of sets, but after the first couple of sets, it's not going to replenish well enough to solely use it to do your 8x5 on 1 minute rest. Now you're losing your glycolytic system, and now it probably kind of hurts.
I mean, and it's not like you're not getting anything out of it, but that wasn't the design of the program, right? So again, like I said, when we say, hey, keep eyes on the clock, and I don't want you to go again until that clock says X, Y, or Z, like that's why.
Now, for running and sport, let's talk about how this energy system influences training for that. Acceleration relies heavily on this system. Those first 20, 30, 50, even up to 60 meters of sprinting are dominated by this energy system. Unless you are jogging or you don't know how to sprint, because there's the elastic components, the neuromuscular components of can you be that powerful that some people need to learn. Generally, for most people, if you're going to sprint that distance, you're using this energy system if you can sprint. So that's, the 60-meter dash, or that's just coming out of the blocks, or, you're racing your friend to one light pole to the other. Max velocity sprinting requires really fast ATP turnover. So we talked about this creatine kinase reaction.
Mm-hmm.
Different people have different abilities to be able to really have this really fast turnover, in part because of that, but also there's other intramuscular parts that go into whenever you're doing anything, your body releases calcium inside the muscle that binds to the you have actin and myosin, and the leading theory is that you have this hook that grabs onto the part of the muscle and it pulls it, and that's what makes the muscle contract. Well, the calcium causes the ability for them to join together to make a pulling motion. Really explosive people can get that to relax faster. So essentially, when your muscles tighten, really explosive people can have it relax and then fire again way faster than non-explosive people. Some of that's the nerves, some of that's the calcium, and some of that might be this phosphocreatine energy system. Anyways, when you're sprinting at full speed, your energy needs to turn over really fast. And so, that whole phase of doing high speed sprinting really requires it because the ground contact times are so short. In order to get off the ground fast, you need a lot of power to move your body off the ground in less than a second or less than half a second.
Yeah. Really short.
Repeat sprint training also improves the recovery ability of this. So if you do a high density of explosive training, your body gets better at replenishing this energy system. So that's doing maybe a bunch of short sprints, and you're challenging how low you can take the rest, but not even just training with little rest in this energy system. Enough rest that you can use it, but not so much rest that you're getting a full recovery. But also just doing a lot of explosive work helps this energy system grow, just in general by doing explosive work.
Yeah, that makes sense. So you're thinking in that sort of 90% around 3 minutes category loosely.
Yeah. This energy system is used constantly while you're in a sport, not just the start of sprinting.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime you change speed, you are going to use it. So if you are, on the soccer field and you're just jogging, or you're maybe you're running a 5K or a marathon and you want to make a surge, this energy system is a major contributor to making sure you can just surge. People who suck at surging don't use this very well. If you're kicking at the end of a race, this is a big contributor to that. Maybe you've been running at whatever pace you were, and you're sure you got a lot of anaerobic burn from your glycolytic system, but you can see the finish line. I know that everybody else doesn't have this. I get a huge adrenaline rush huge adrenaline rush when I see the finish line. Or if it's a course that I know and I'm like, oh, once I turn this corner, it's time to go. I can have a sense for like, oh, I have like less than a minute. And so I can click in my glycolytic system heavily to push me forward from that. I guess that the adrenaline hormones really help. But then in those last seconds of sprinting, like, oh my gosh, it's my last few seconds to go, especially if there's a person in front of me or right next to me, this just pours on. And I think it's because of that long background of sprinting that I always have this unless I'm really depleted. But even if I'm pretty depleted, if I mentally feel really good about what I'm doing, I don't know, there's like some emotional part maybe there, and I'm not like deeply in pain, I can still surge. I have to be in really bad pain not to surge. Even when I did that
Yeah.
marathon last year and I
Yeah.
was going up the hill and there were parts I had to walk because I just couldn't go, I still had like an 8-second kick at the end of the race.
There's and people say, oh, if you had a finishing kick, that means you didn't run your hardest race because you had energy at the end and things like that. Um, and like I can understand why people jump to that conclusion, but like that's just a misguided conclusion because all of these other factors all of a sudden come into play that were not even in the equation before you rounded that corner and saw, oh, I only have this much to go. Whether that's adrenaline, whether that's the, like you said, the emotional component. Um, like there was a few seasons there. I was like really big into like central governor and how to manipulate that, which is basically like a part of your brain that protects you from pushing uh, past your physiological limits. And so there's a lot of research into it, obviously, and like, can you train your central governor to just like shut off? And that's when you have these like breakthrough performances. But like when you only have a tenth of a mile to go, your brain isn't trying to protect you from catastrophic failure anymore because it knows you only have a tenth of a mile to go. So like that can click off too. So it's like there's so many things that happen in that last little stretch of a race that have nothing to do with whether or not you ran your hardest race or not.
That's great that you bring that up. I've definitely heard that before. I never really thought about the central governor part a lot.
That would be another good one if we do like a brain training uh bit to talk about, do an episode on central governor.
That makes a lot of sense though. Like if all this like surge of energy comes out of nowhere and you can run with reckless abandon at the end of a race.
Yeah.
Like that's what it feels like. I don't know about you, but whenever I'm like having a finishing kick of a race, especially if the race went well, either it went well because I ran a PR or it just went well. It just felt like a good run. Like it just feels like, I don't know, these floodgates go down and it's like I find energy that like a mile ago or half a mile ago I did not feel like I had.
Yeah. I've always and maybe I know some people like might take an opposite approach to this. I've always treated finishing kicks as like my victory lap. You know what I mean? Like you run a hard race and then like you said, you can just open up and with reckless abandon and like no parameters at all. Like
Yeah.
that's, I mean, not to get too like out there, but like you're free, man. And those few seconds, you're free.
So I think there's like two things there. One, I don't know about you, but the worst races I ever have were like I felt bad during the race, I ran slow. There's very little kick, almost none. The races that go well, that I feel good, that I like really poured it out there, there's almost always a kick for it. It's like the sense of dominance.
That's where it is. Yes.
And I think like using this energy system, like when you're sprinting or even if you're jumping a lot, there's something you mentioned freeing. Like yesterday I went to CMU and did some sprints. I did like a bunch of starts and then like a couple flies and then like 100. And I just felt so like invigorated. Like I just felt so full of life after like sprinting fast. And I feel that way after races, whether it's a marathon and I sprint, whether it's a half marathon, a 5K, or even like a short sprint. Like just the act of sprinting hard, I just feel like I feel like on top of the world, like a lion's roar in motion.
And with no consequence too, right? Because it's not like oh, I gotta go get another rep in after this, or uh, like I got to worry about, getting up and going for my training run tomorrow morning. No, this is it. This is your race. Like this is it. These few seconds are like everything.
That just made me excited.
Yeah, right. Go sign up for a bunch of races now.
So that's the big part of the phosphocreatine system
Yeah.
for you, everybody. Reasons it's important for a lot of our audience are distance runners, being able to surge, being able to kick. If you are like a youth distance runner, being able to get in a good position in the mile,
Yes.
like at the elite levels of the mile and the 2 mile, not even just elite, like the really good, district levels, kids are fighting to get up there. Like I've seen kids get knocked over. I've seen kids get boxed, and in a race where there's a 4 second difference from winning or losing, or if you get stuck in the back of the pack, the amount of work it takes to get back
Yeah.
up to the front,
Yeah.
like just being able to get an established position in the first place is major. And being able to just have this energy at your ability to have this kind of power output is going to help you with running faster races, being able to surge well, and making sure that your energy portfolio is well diversified.
Energy, well diversified energy portfolio. I love that. And I'm glad we didn't gloss over that last point, Coach, because I knew I was going to field questions from people. Oh, okay, so then, well, why did we do 5x5? It's like for exactly that reason. Like a lot of our adult endurance athletes are competitors. A lot of times, like they're on their bike and they need to get around somebody, or they've been going back and forth with this runner during their race, and they need to drop them on this hill and just like bury them and put them in the rear view mirror. And like this gives you the opportunity to be able to do that without huge consequences to your ultimate outcome.
Some coaching points relative to what coach just said. Think about, what is your intent with training? Is your intent working on having a higher maximum power output? A higher power output can lead to a better sub maximum output, especially if you're running 5K,
Mm.
10K, half marathon. Like you're running sub max, but it's still pretty high. So, being able to have a high power output can help you out with that. And even, especially if you're a power athlete, being able to raise your ceiling can raise what the
Mhm.
third floor is. How well you can go fast, if you need to pass somebody going up a hill, it's going to influence your ability to get up that hill faster. And then it's something important to be paying attention to when you're training for this is minding your work to rest ratios. This is why on track teams, the distance runners look at the sprinters like all they do is sit around, because they need to sit around to replenish their energy stores, because if they're not during a speed day, if they're not running full speed or very close to full speed, they're just wasting their time.
That's so funny. I had that thought pop into my head earlier when we were talking about this. It's like we could be at the track for 90 minutes and only seen those guys run for like 3. That's an exaggeration, of course, but it is funny. It's a funny dichotomy.
It is. So, as we head out, please check out our sponsor, aka Global Human Performance, our strength training for running webinar, as well as summer trackside. Pre-sales should be going on at the time that you're listening to this episode. So if you have an athlete, a youth athlete, or you yourself are interested in really being able to boost that performance, our summer trackside session, we run in the morning at 7 a.m. We'll be working on, for our endurance athletes, they'll be having base level running sessions. You'll be having tempo work at, if you've been listening to the show, we talked about all these different tempos that we'll be training at. So you'll be able to work at these different tempos. We'll be working on your hill surge capacity as well. For our sprint athletes, you'll be spending time working on this energy system for acceleration, for top end speed. Our field athletes will be working on this energy system for both of those, as well as change of direction work. And the other energy systems that we'll be talking about, building up your glycolytic abilities, your repeat sprint abilities. So we'll be really touching all of these energy systems. We'll be having aerobic specific time, and also something that is, I think, not stated enough to youth athletes. I might talk to my kids about this at track practice that I have in 30 minutes at the end of this. Is being able to just train 5 days a week for somebody who doesn't builds your aerobic system. Your aerobic
Sure.
system can be built from a lot of things. It is a matter of once you are in sufficiently good shape, do you need to like press that button more by itself? But summer trackside, we're gonna hit all of this. So next up on, so first of all, so for that, go to our website www.ghperformance.com and you can find information for all of this. Our next episode is going to be the glycolysis and talking about the glycolytic energy system, your aerobic system, aka the system that causes you the burn. So we'll talk more about what that burn is and about improving that energy system and what it is. Ciao.
Awesome session.
55:30. All right, we are all done.